Hi, and welcome to TV My Husband Hates. I'm Cat Sims.
And I'm Reagan Kempton.
And we are reality TV addicts.
Addicts, aficionados.
Ooh, I like that. Experts.
Experts.
Basically, we know our shit when it comes to reality TV.
100%. Hello, and welcome to another episode of TV My Husband Hates. How you doing, Kat?
It's great. Everything's great. I'm fine. I really don't want to, I don't want to come on here and be a bummer again. Do you know what I mean? It's every week there's something, but there is really something this week. And my kid's been sent home for 2 weeks because there's a confirmed case of COVID in her year group.
That's a bummer.
But, listen, I'm going to be honest. Last night when I got the information, it was traumatic, and I immediately called my neighbour and said, I need you to watch the kids for 10 minutes because I'm going to buy wine and chocolate, because I just, when you just need to enjoy something. Yeah. You just need to find something in this life to enjoy. That was what I wanted to enjoy. Anyway, listen, this morning I'm feeling much more philosophical about it. It's fine. I'm going to embrace my time with her. We're going to have great fun. We're going to skip through fucking meadows. It's going to be joyful.
Excellent. Well, I'm not going to be a downer about kids going to school as I was a couple of weeks ago, because both of mine have been in this week and it's been fucking incredible. I've blown my brains out about how productive I can be when I'm by myself. So I'm going to be a little smug on that front and retract my statement that everybody's just going to get sick when they go back to school. Because actually, both of my kids have been in all week. Nobody's been sick this week. So
listen,
joyful.
I am a big enough woman to be truly, truly happy for you. And I'm not even being sarcastic. I am truly happy for you. I cannot wait to be able to say the same thing. And on the day that I can, I'm going to turn up with fucking champagne and some sort of fun thing to eat. But for now, I'm just surviving, and that's fine. We'll survive.
100%.
I'll be thriving soon.
Yeah. I mean, that's what this whole year has been about, right? Peaks and troughs. Well,
just troughs, really. But I see your point. But why don't we have a quick chat? Because we've only got 2 shows today, and I didn't mention this in pre-production. But we could have a quick chat about the fact that the Kardashians have called it quits on Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
I know. We've got 2 seasons left of the Kardashians before they stop. So we'll have the one that's starting next week. So we'll be adding them into the rotation. And then they're going to do one other in 2021. And then that will be the end. They're going to end on the 20th season.
I did not realize that we had 2 seasons. I knew we had 1. I thought they were calling it quits after this one coming.
No, so did I. But one of our listeners / followers, Amanda, corrected me and set me straight. So I was like, oh, well, that's okay. Like, we've got 2 more seasons of them, and then we'll be good to go.
We've got time to grieve it. I saw some scathing articles by 2 journalists here in the UK, which won't surprise anybody. One was by Piers Morgan. I mean, he's known to be probably one of the biggest cocks that walks the planet. And the other was by Sarah Vine. Again, she's married to Michael Gove, so that will give you some indication of the level of her open-mindedness. But both of them were it really irritates me because, like the Kardashians or not, they are not vacuous human beings. Like, they are smart. They've got drive and ambition. And sure, we can criticize them for a lot of things, but I don't think calling them vacuous and accusing them of setting feminism back 50 years is valid.
So here's a question. How is 5 millionaire women who own their own business setting feminism back? Aren't they doing what they want to do? Isn't that the basis of feminism? That we all can just do what the fuck we want?
Without judgment, without middle-aged white men telling us that we're setting feminism back. I think you make a valid point, Reagan.
It's so ridiculous to me. I mean, I have always had the utmost respect for Kris Jenner and the way that all of her children, even Rob, all have their own businesses, all work for themselves. They make money. They make money as a family. They make money separately, but they're all doing their own shit and none of them live with her. How many parents can say that?
women aren't allowed, in certain people's minds, women aren't allowed to be successful because they don't deserve it. And this is a typical white, 50-something, privileged male man who was privately educated all the way through, has never taken a minute to recognize his lack of individuality or autonomy in the things that he's saying, and is basically just spouting this kind of age-old patriarchal message of women can't be successful because it makes men feel small. And I have nothing to say about that kind of bullshit. And also, here's the thing, Piers Morgan, I'm going to bet both my ovaries that you've never watched any Kardashians.
No, I'm sure he absolutely has no idea what he's talking about.
Anyway, what we'll do, we'll get it linked. I'll get both those articles linked on the Facebook page, and you can have a look there.
Yeah, no, that seems super interesting. There's another rumor going around that Kris Jenner may be the next to hold a diamond on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Well, I heard this, and I don't know how I feel about it. Reagan, what do you reckon?
I reckon Bravo probably doesn't have enough money to pay her to be on
that show. Well, there's a good point.
But, I mean, if she was, I'd watch it for sure. Like, I think she'd be putting a lot of people in their places. But I don't see her in the housewives role. Like, I just think she's too busy doing other stuff.
Yeah, me too. And I do feel like there's been some discussion about whether the Kardashians jumped or they were pushed. I believe they probably jumped. I feel like the plot lines from the most recent episodes have shown that throughout the family there is some just, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they're just tired of it, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they've made a decision to jump and to kind of go while they're at a peak of some description. So it would seem strange then that Kris Kardashian would jump straight back into another franchise that she has zero control over. And I think that's the thing. I don't think Kris Jenner will enter any kind of franchise where she doesn't have the kind of executive producer control that she does with the Kardashians.
No, I would totally agree on that. Plus, she's been friends with a lot of the Real Housewives for ages. If she had ever wanted to go on the show, I think it would have happened a long time ago. But I think you're right about like creative control. And maybe that's why she never was on the Housewives to begin with, because she did her own thing and she's got say over it.
Yeah, and also I think this rumor's only sprung up from her recent kind of cameo appearances. Like, oh, well, she's there and this is going to happen. I don't think it is. I think her and Kyle have been friends for ages and she just happened to be there. So I'm going to put it out there. I'm saying she's not joining Beverly Hills.
Yeah, I think it's going to prove false, but if she was to go on, I would still watch it and still enjoy it. It'd be delightful.
I can't think of anybody that went on that would make me stop watching it.
No, not even Denise Richards.
Not even Denise Richards.
Which is weird, because if you look into social media about this whole Denise Richards Brandy thing, most everyday people are 100% behind Denise, which fucking shocks me to the core. I mean, I know this is not like the reunion or anything that we're talking about now, but I find that weird.
I do too. I do too. And I mean, there's certain elements of it that I am on Denise Richards' side for, because whether she had an affair or she didn't, whether it was with a man or a woman, I think that shit playing out on reality TV is hard, no matter what you signed up for, because you signing up for something is one thing, but having to live through something which will inevitably affect your kids is something that any mother is going to be protective of, regardless of a contract that's signed. So that element of it, I can sympathize with her. On the other hand,
she's a liar, pants on fire.
She's a pumpkin eater. That's what she is. And I feel like that could just be owned and done. And it's not that she cheated. That is the drama on that show. It's that she is lying about everything so obviously that the mind boggles.
Yeah, she's a very poor liar for an actress. I would expect better.
Me too. Mind you, I mean, let's be honest. She's never been a great... I mean, she's not like winning Oscars, is she?
No. She's no Helen Mirren. Or
no Helen Mirren. She's no Judy. No, she's none of that. She's no Kate Blanchett.
No, not even a Keira Knightley.
No, and that's not saying much. Oh, do you know what? I'm sort of getting over my Keira Knightley hatred.
Yeah, I'm sure she's a lovely girl. I saw her in Shoreditch one time.
Well, I was at a taping of Graham Norton's New Year's Eve party last year, and she was a guest on it. And actually, she was really nice. The only reason, I'll tell you the reason I hate her, and this is why I'm such a dick. But in Love Actually, there's that line where she's watching the video of the guy who loves her, and it's all of her. And she just looks at it and she goes, I'm quite pretty, really, aren't I? I'm like, oh, God. Fuck off.
So it's actually more hatred for the writers of Love Actually that gave her the line to say than her.
I feel like, as an actress, you should be able to turn around and say, I'm not saying this line. It is awful, and everybody is just going to die of shame and embarrassment when I say it. So can we not? And I will always hold her responsible for not taking a stand against that line. And I don't care what anybody says. Having said that, she was great on Graham Norton, and Denise Richards doesn't even hold a candle to her. So there we go. That's that chat sorted out.
Yeah. Really quickly, guys, if you have forgotten or we haven't said it enough, could you please take a moment and go over to iTunes, rate us, review us. It always helps push us up on the charts, and it also helps for other people to find who we are. So like that's how the recommendations work on podcasts. So podcasts who have a lot of reviews and a lot of ratings get shown to people as podcasts they may like. And that's where we would like to be. So if you guys could please hop over there. It doesn't even take 5 minutes. We got a new one. I'm just pulling it up now. But,
I'm so excited. I love it when we get a new one.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, it's from Max Denver. Said that we are fun and we provide smart chat about reality TV. You know, that's all it needs to know. They also said that we're representative of those of us over 30 who like to escape to reality. Thank you and keep it up. So Max Denver, thank you.
I got a bit teary.
I know, it's lovely, isn't it? So we want to hear what you think. So hop over there, write us something, help us get discovered.
We'd appreciate it. We would. Anyway, listen, we've only got 2 shows this week. We're in the kind of weird crossover phase.
Yeah.
But they're 2 good ones. In fact, they're 2 of my favourite ones. So I'm all right with it.
It's very good watching this week.
And frankly, it was a great week to only have 2 shows to watch because shit's going down.
Silver lining.
And that's the silver lining. But let's start off with The Real Housewives of Potomac because we're still in the lake house, which is starting to feel a little bit like some sort of murder mystery kind of hostage situation. But we do kick off right in the middle of this tete-a-tete between Wendy and Ashley.
Yeah. I'm almost lost for words on this dinner. It's like one of the most uncomfortable dinners I've ever had to watch. However, I love that everybody's kind of laughing through it. Like it's so ridiculous, it's making people laugh.
Yeah, and I think there is that real there is an awkwardness for sure. And I do see real malice in what Wendy does. And it's very rare that you see kind of real malice, but something has flipped in her brain and she is pissed and it's all coming out at Ashley. And I think I was watching it going, geez, Wendy, you're not going to recover from this. It's like doubling down on the lack of apology.
Right.
But actually, the next day, it becomes really kind of clear in this conversation that she has with Ashley, all the feelings that she was feeling at the time.
Absolutely. And I mean, even before that, like when she's walking with Giselle and she really puts words to the fact, she's like, I was really triggered. Like I've had a very traumatic kind of birth with my youngest. She was born really early, like all this stuff. Then it kind of, I think identifying that with Giselle allows her to like have a real conversation with Ashley without kind of, you know, the making fun of her torn butthole stuff that was happening at dinner.
That wasn't nice.
It's not nice. That's something you never make fun of somebody else for. I mean, could you imagine the pain?
I mean, I can imagine it. I don't want to, but I can. And I mean, it's just not nice. But I think what I really loved about the conversation between Wendy and Ashley that took place the next day while they're slicing up worms was that Ashley is one of those souls, or has become one of those souls, where she leads with love, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I see her do with Wendy. Even though she should be on the defensive, because Wendy has literally just ripped her another arsehole, she doesn't. She goes in with vulnerability and in with love, and that really knocks kind of Wendy off her guard a little bit.
Totally. Well, and she goes in with jokes too, like, because Wendy wouldn't really say the words, "I'm sorry," and like Ashley jokingly like rips her about it, like, "Do you need me to say it first?" And I like that about her. I think that's a very genuine conversation. I think that's how real life people work things out. You know, like Ashley should not take all the fall for it. Like, and she wasn't going to, which I respected. Like, she stood her ground. She didn't take all the shit for it, but did apologize for her reaction. And I thought that was the right thing to do.
She's a perfect example of someone who example for everybody, even me. I'm like, that was impressive. Like, even me, as if I'm like the leading light and kind of leading with love. Fucking rarely happens. Yeah. But she really provided space for Wendy to kind of process that almost. And I think that's a real gift, considering how Wendy kicked the shit out of her the night before.
Absolutely. And I think it took Wendy off guard. And I think that's what she needed, to be vulnerable. Like, she needed to be knocked so she could just be her true self. And when she was her true self, she's lovely.
Yeah. And we've all been there. We've all been triggered. We've all been new mums. Well, not all of us, but you and I have been new mums, and we've had traumatic births, and we know what that can do to you. And Ashley does too. And I think that's where she was determined to find the connection. And she sort of did what I couldn't do, which is look at Wendy and go, this is coming at me, but it's not about me. And and I'm just genuinely in love with Ashley at the moment. I think she's ace.
This season, Ashley has blown me away, and I love it. And I'm feeling really protective of her at the moment.
Yeah, me too. And especially over the next few episodes, I think we will too. Reagan, you just informed me that there had been some breaking news on social media from Ashley Darby.
Yeah, so in real life, Ashley is pregnant again with Michael's baby number 2.
When Reagan first told me that in the pre-production meeting, I swear to God, a cold chill ran down my spine. And that is not the feeling you want to have when somebody announces a pregnancy.
No. Just makes me sad.
It's just really sad that a man like that can have and waste a woman like her.
Totally. And a woman that she's growing to be as well. Because we've seen a lot of changes, with her from season to season. And I think being a mom and struggling has really given her a different perspective on life. And
I 100% agree. And I think it's really sad because he's much older than her. And I think he's taking advantage. He's such a dick, but he's taking advantage of this woman who, yes, is strong and leads with love and is vulnerable and all of that. But she's also vulnerable in the truest sense of the word. And I think he's taking advantage of her in that sort of relationship with her dad and all of that. And it's just so painful to watch because I just think that woman deserves a king and he is a snake.
He's 100% a snake. Should we talk about? Should we just skip ahead?
Shall we? Yes, let's talk about that, and then we'll just go back to the other stuff.
Yeah, because in this episode we see the text from Candace's friend about what Michael's been doing the whole time Ashley has been at this lake house, struggling, not getting in touch with him. He's been out partying it up with strippers, talking about boyfriends and wives, and inviting people back to the hotel.
You say struggling, but do you remember the bit where Ashley says, actually, this is the first time we've been away, actually, it's easier? And I'm like, babe, of course it's easier because you now have only one baby to look after.
Absolutely.
And not 2.
Yeah. No, you're 100% correct. On that note, can we have a moment for Ashley's friend Eve, who is not the nanny, but has stepped in to help her with this baby so she can go away for the weekend?
I know. What a queen.
Girl tribes, 100%. She doesn't need Michael. She's got great friends. She'll be fine.
Well, women like Ashley do have great friends because they are kind hearts. They've got good hearts.
Yeah.
But I agree. She deserves a mention for sure. But yeah, this text thing with Candace. I mean, I feel for her too, right?
Oh, my heart broke that it had to go to Candace. Like, it had to be Candace's friend that sees all this, because they've just gotten to the point where they're friendly and they're interacting in very positive ways, Candace and Ashley. And now she's got this fucking bomb in her hand. It's like a grenade with the pin pulled out, right?
Yeah. And it's really hard because, of course, that information has to go to Ashley. But, of course, you have to verify it as much as you can. And yet, Candace just doesn't want to be the person to bring this up because it's going to look messy. Her track history is going to make it look messy. But I genuinely feel, while there is a little bit of her that's enjoying the salaciousness of the whole event.
Totally. I mean, who wouldn't?
Right. I think the majority of her is actually just doesn't want to do anything to rock her friendship with Ashley and doesn't really want to do anything to hurt Ashley like that.
No, I 100% with that. Like, this whole situation makes my butthole clench. Like, it's so awkward. I don't really want to watch it. I obviously will, but I just, like, my heart breaks for both of them. Like, I don't want Ashley to have to receive more shitty news about her stupid baby daddy or her husband. Sorry. And I don't want Candace to have to be the one to tell her, like, because of their history, because of Candace's history with Michael and, like, their big blow up at, like, the reunion last year. And it's just, it sucks.
How many times does somebody have to be at the center of cheating rumors and scandal rumors before somebody goes,
enough.
I can't trust you anymore. Enough.
100%. And I mean, I think we were talking about this in our meeting beforehand. Like, how much more can everybody else be wrong except him?
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
It's crazy. And I mean, obviously we'll see what he has to say next week. I'm sure it's some bullshit, but I don't know, dude.
I don't know either, and it's exhausting. And I feel like next week we see this kind of indication that he's going to admit something, but
right.
I don't know. We'll have to watch
something tiny to not tell the truth about everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Something just to deflect. But we'll see. Who knows? All I can do is hope that Ashley knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Who knows?
What I do love about this lake house trip is that we do get to see these glimmers of, like, girls just getting together and having fun. Number one, because they're bored as fuck at this lake house, right? Like, it's in the middle of nowhere. They have not shit to do. Everybody's getting bored. So they kind of come up with, like, fun ways to, like, bond. And when they're in that mode, they are lovely to each other. Yeah.
And they can laugh at themselves and they can take a joke in the way that it's intended, apart from Karen Hugo, but I mean, whatever. But I think Giselle deserves a special mention for this too. I feel like she's really trying to bring this group together. She's, she wants to go home. She's done.
Yeah.
But she's being a grown-up and she's being polite and she's making the best of it. And I fucking love people who make the best of shit.
Dude, if you are a good sport, you can hang out with me any day of the week. Like, you're always going to be in situations where you're bored or you're irritated or whatever. But if you can be a good sport about it and just suck it up and try to have fun anyways, like, I'm on board with that.
Me too. And there's always tequila. Do you know what I mean? In any situation, there's always tequila. That always helps. And then finally, just before we move on, I'd love to talk a little bit about Candace and her chat about motherhood when they're sitting around the pool, because I thought it was really interesting that, don't get me wrong, we all did it. Like, before we had kids, we all sat there and went, this is the kind of mom that I'm going to be.
We were all the best parents in the world before we had babies.
Yeah, which is why my blog is called Not So Smug Now. Like, I was smug as fuck. Kids going to have wooden toys. They were going to eat organic food. We were going to do baby-led weaning. Like, fucking hell, they're lucky if I throw them a frozen fish finger to suck on for dinner these days. So, like, I'm not blaming Candace for feeling these feelings.
Right.
But I just think it's interesting that she looks at, like, Robin and Giselle and Wendy, but that felt a bit like a sort of charitable, oh, you're here, so I'll just say you too. And says, I think I'm going to be your kind of, like, a mother like you, where it's not all about the kids.
Yeah, and I just wanted to shake her and be like, sweetie, that's how it is when they're all like 7 and up or 5 and up. Like once school starts, you can be that person where it's not all about your kids. But when they're 3-month-old infants or a month old, like however old Dean is, it is all about them because you're like the sole person that can keep them alive.
And that's what people need to tell you. People don't need to tell you things will never change. You can just carry on, go out for dinner and lunch. People need to go, do you know what? Shit's going to change. And for 6 months, there's very fucking little else that you're going to be able to do.
Yeah.
Then it'll start to get a bit easier and you might be able to grab a night out by yourself and things like that. But in terms of being super chill, where most of your decisions become passive and you can just know that your kids are in school so that you can do Pilates every 3 days or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That just fucking comes with time.
Yeah. And of course, Karen's that way. Her kids are in college. They need nothing from her anymore.
Apart from money, presumably.
Yeah.
But even Robin, like, her kids are at school and shit just takes care of itself. Obviously, not now during COVID.
Right.
Clearly. But generally, once you get into the system, essentially, so much stuff is just taken care of that you don't have to consider their every move every single day of the week. Right. But until that point, you do. And you try your best to forge out time for yourself. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But you can't just go into motherhood going, it's just not going to be all about the kids for me.
No. No, you just can't. Or it's going to be a really hard first year for you because you're going to be trying to strive to these unrealistic expectations. It's just not going to fucking happen. And you just got to let it go. I feel, at least with my kids, the magic age is kind of 5 for me when it got remarkably easier. And my youngest is almost there. Like we're just a few months away from him being 5. And I feel at that point, they can really get on, like they can make themselves basic breakfast and dress themselves and brush their own teeth and all that kind of stuff makes your life night and day from like pre-5. How do you feel?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my girls, I'd say 6 has been the real turning point for Billy. But that being said, it's definitely a lot easier after 5. Like, to be fair, once they're in school, because you are no longer completely responsible for their entire development, it's cool to see them they naturally just gain some independence. So they step away from you a little bit at home as well, which is great. Also, it has its, it's not always great, but essentially it's lovely to see them start to blossom into their own people. But until then, they're entirely dependent on you. And you can escape momentarily, but essentially they're always fucking there.
Absolutely. Like I remember very vividly realizing my oldest was kind of a grown-up when he started making his own friends, like outside of our friends' kids and things like that. Like he went to school and came home and was like, so-and-so is one of my friends. I was like, I don't even know so-and-so. Like, that's crazy. And it's kind of that point where it's like, oh gosh, they're like active living people in a world that I'm not a part of. And that like, it made things a little easier.
I remember for me, it was when Billy would like the radio would go and she'd sing lyrics she'd sing along to songs that we never played at home. And I was like, how do you know that song? She's like, oh, I listened to it at Alana's house or, they played it in dance class at school or something. I'm like, well, how do you know the lyric? Like, that's crazy to me.
Well, to be fair, Billy has like a gift for lyrics.
She does have a wicked smart memory when it comes to songs and lyrics. But anyways. Anyway, Candace, I think she's as ready as you're ever gonna fucking be.
100%.
When it comes to being a mom.
100%.
Is what I would say. Now, listen, we've got one more show, but in the meantime, forgive us for this little break, and we'll see you on the other side. let's get back to it. Moving on to Below Deck Med. And Reagan, what did you think of this episode?
I love this show.
I do
it's
too.
It's so crazy. I love it. I like getting surprised by occasionally seeing Pete because I've kind of forgot he's still on the boat. Just every once in a while.
This weird ghost that just pops up.
Yeah, who is that? Oh, yeah, Pete. I forgot he's still on the boat. I mean, he's
the
racist. I mean, they have really cut him out. Like at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh God, if this is him cut, like how bad was he? But I feel like the cutting really didn't start until like these last few episodes.
Well, I think they had to kind of finish a storyline that had started, and then they have been brutal. I mean, talk about cancel culture. There is nothing of him. It's, I mean, unfair dues to the editing team. Like, it doesn't seem to have dampened. I mean, I think they've been lucky as well. I mean, imagine if he'd been in kind of a boatman's or something like that. I mean, that would have made it difficult. As it is, I think nobody fucking likes him anyway, so it's quite easy to just freeze him out of it.
Yeah, I mean, even at the dinners, like this is like the dinner part of this episode is where I noticed it. And I was like, oh yeah, like he was sitting right there.
I think as well, though, as much as I agree with the decision they've made, I think it would be interesting to see if any changes Pete had kind of made any changes or modified his behavior since kind of the chatting with Sandy about his approach to women and professionally on the boat. Because it would be interesting. That's what I'm saying. It would be interesting to see if he'd kind of made any changes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like past knowledge of the yachting culture and what we've seen on different below decks, even when their behavior is called out, nothing really changes. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see if Pete's Instagram is actually back up now.
I
noticed the other day. So I wonder if there'll be any changes in like his social presence. We'll see.
I mean, if there isn't, there are some serious. I mean, if he continues to post racist shit, then the kid is like beyond saving. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, we'll see. And I'm absolutely not defending anything at all.
No.
What he did, but there is a very steep learning curve on social media as your following grows, especially if it grows so rapidly. Because I think there's a natural, especially in this kind of instance where you're just thrown onto TV and everybody just follows you. People are dicks. Like, people are dicks. And he clearly isn't in a position to make smart decisions when it comes to content. So I think it will only be a matter of time before he fucks up again, because it becomes you have to be so fucking nuanced to get it right. Yeah. And I just don't think he's got the skills. So we'll see. I know, me too. I've always loved Aisha. I think she earns than she'd like. I mean, is it just me, or would you? I mean, there was that moment where I was like, if this but it still probably felt a bit, well, not probably, I don't know if I'm being a bit woke and stuck in the mud. It felt a bit uncomfortable. It's not legal for her to be drinking at all. Thinking if that was Johnny, this would be a whole other response.
Oh man, I mean the whole
a woman does it to a woman. But
yeah, I mean, I don't think it is.
Oh God.
Yeah,
She,
but it'd be
think
interesting to
anymore,
hear
actually.
her take.
But Aisha also, it's interesting because she struggles. We see her struggling a little. Are kind of boring. I mean, they're sweet, but they're boring.
Is boring. Like, there's no fun banter or like everybody just getting together and having a good time.
The banter, and that's what she's missing. But I love the conversation with her and her brother and her. I think her arrival has made me realize that actually these guys are quite dull.
They really are. I mean,
Hey Jess, I have time for Jess for sure.
yeah.
But that fucking shit. I'm like, babe, it's never gonna. Everybody has baggage. Everybody has exes. Everybody talks to other women. Just fucking. Like car crash fight. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't even that. It was just like, can you just not? It's tedious.
Yeah, we're all fucking bored. This is not.
If you have to pin me down and say who was right and who was wrong, I think Jeff was wrong and he was in the right.
Yeah.
And yet still can't communicate with anybody. And Jess is as bad, but it's just tedious.
Feels like a dick.
But he's feeling a bit like he can get a refund on that bullshit.
Like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to exchange my ticket again. Maybe it's Southwest.
But the fact that Jess kicked off about the conversation that he was having with Aisha was just insane to me.
It's childish. It is childish to think that people can't have conversations without trying to get in people's pants. Night out in Ibiza or in Ibiza ever.
Up. And I think this has been one of my happiest moments because I genuinely think he hasn't
polite.
It. So polite. And
not
so
date rape at all.
No date rape involved. He's like, this is how I feel. I mean, if she didn't kiss great couple. But I think just seeing her do her job as chief
for ages. Like, finally, they've had enough crew so that Jess could actually get the laundry done. And tables look lovely. You know, Michelle and Johnny said this was like way better than their last crew.
Jess isn't immune to the compliment. Do you know what I mean? No matter how moody and dark and deep she wants to be, even she's like, oh my God, it's a moment on TV. I couldn't. That means I can hide. I just don't want to. I mean,
No reason, and it's not even like an entertaining reason.
well, I feel like he's can't have this conversation anymore. And I like that he's like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to have the conversation.
No. I think they have like 2 more charters, so probably 4 more shows.
And is
maybe
it?
Yeah. But we are
union stuff yet, so I'm excited. But also, let's just tell people about the fact that on Patreon, we're about if you're not a Patreon subscriber, you won't be able to read it. So
No. So hop on over there.
That's
Give
to
a
be you. Well done, you. Listen, have a great week. I'm going to go drink some wine and lament the fact that my kid's not going to school for 2 weeks, but we will see you on the flip side, won't we?
We will. And remember,
smart people watch reality TV too.
bye-bye.
Please subscribe, rate, and review TV My Husband Hates wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at TV My Husband Hates and join the Facebook group to keep the conversation going when the podcast ends. If Twitter's your thing, you'll find us at TV Husbands Hate. Theme music and production for TV My Husband Hates is by Jimmy Sims.